All right, so I want to cut this 8 foot 2 by. All right, so I want to cut this 8 foot 4 by 4 to match my 6 foot 2 by 4. All right, so I want to cut this 8 foot 4 by 4 to match the length of my 6 foot 4 by 4. So I did measure the 6 footer to make sure that it was truly 6 foot. And well, good morning, everybody. This is Danny coming at you from East Texas. Today, it's time to build a trellis. So I have blackberries that I have planted back in the fall. They've rooted, they're doing well. They survived the 14-degree temperatures we had a couple weeks ago. They're putting on new green growth, and I know it's only a matter of time before they begin to get unruly. So I'm going to try to harness them and use a trellis system to do so. It's early Saturday morning. The sun is just coming over the trees across the street from me. It's going to be a beautiful day, and I'm excited you're here to grow along with me. So, first, let's take a look at our parts list and what I am trying to do. All right, so here's the lumber we're going to use for this Blackberry trellis system. Just the three pieces in the forefront is all it's going to take as far as lumber. So I have an 8 foot 4 by 4. These are treated 4 by 4s. I did paint them black for aesthetics, but the 8 footer I'm going to sacrifice 2 feet of, and you'll see why in just a little bit. The trellis should be about 6 feet tall by the time I am done. The 2 by 4 in the front, we're going to use that for our cross pieces. So I've got some cutting to do on all of these. Ignore the lumber in the background. That is for a trellis for our peas and melons and cucumbers, and I'll be working on that at a later time. But for now, this is the lumber we're going to use: two 4 by 4s and a 2 by 4. And this is our tool list. Now, I was watching on Amazon this wire that I have here, and as soon as it went on sale, I jumped on it, and it actually came with a whole accessory kit, as far as for hooking it up, tightening the wire, and all of that. So I'm really happy with that purchase. I think it was on sale for $45, and I got 300 feet of this black coated wire. On the right, these are going to be my T-post spikes. So that's what the sacrificial 2 foot of 4 by 4 is for. I will use that to drive these spikes in the ground. You can see I've got two different types of screw or sizes of screws. Those will be used to attach the 2 by 4s to the 4 by 4s. Drills in the back, one to pre-drill and even countersink for my screws. Obviously I have some cutters, and you can see the hardware there for connecting these wires up. Now, the odds of me having all of the tools here and not making 8 trips back to the garage for more tools, slim to none. But I think I have most everything I need here. Hopefully, maybe 5 trips back to the garage. We'll see. All right, so I want to cut this 8 foot 4 by 4 to match the length of my 6 foot 4 by 4. So I did measure the 6 footer to make sure that it was truly 6 foot, and of course, it is not. But this time, it is actually at a half inch longer than 6 foot. It's 72.5 inches. So I'm going to cut this one to 72.5 inches. Obviously, what I cut off, that is going to be my sacrificial piece for driving the spikes. Um, I just want to warn y'all, be careful with lumber. They're never true to size. And I know there's a reason for it. I just don't know what that reason is. If you're a carpenter and you know why lumber is never the size that it says it is, let me know in the comments below. A 2 by 4 is really what, 1.5 by 3.5, I think. This 8 foot 4 by 4 is not truly 8 foot long. 6 foot, not truly 6 foot long. I don't know why that is, just something to be aware of. If I had not measured that 6 foot 4x4, I would have had a ½ inch difference, and that would have been wrong. So glad that I measured it. I want to get to cutting this real quick, and we'll get it down to size. So I have it marked at 72.5. Marked my line. I'm about to forget my safety glasses. Don't forget these. Obviously, I want to have it flush against the back so I get the straight cut. How I got that almost right, I don't know. All right. And there we have it. This 8-footer is now 6 foot long, 72.5 inches long, and I have my sacrificial 2-foot piece to drive my spikes in the ground. All right, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to take the spike and drive it with the sacrificial 4x4, but I want to make sure that, one, that is level, and two, that it is centered in my raised bed. I'm going to have to do this on both sides. So inside measurements, I am right at 30 inches. So I did a good job of cutting that. So I'm going to mark my 15-inch mark to get my center. So now I know where the center of the bed is, and I can get to driving this spike in the ground. I will have to pull my hoops up. I got these hoops on Amazon. I mean, that's where I buy everything, I feel like. But how handy are these? I was able to use these for my row covers on those really cold nights. They're super easy to put together. Now I can just take them apart, store them in the garage when I don't need them. But pretty neat. Check them out. Just little simple hoops for your row covers. But all right, let's get to driving this bike. All right, so I have my 4x4 in the spike. It was actually pretty tight, kind of good. Makes me feel good. It is a very tight fit. Plus, it has little bolts right here so that you can tighten it up even more. I have those to the inside just to kind of hide them a little bit. I don't know how much that's going to help. I may come back with some black paint and touch those up. But I was able to push this through the raised bed sole pretty easily. I have checked the level. I'm pretty level right now, but I know when I start driving this into the ground that there's a really good chance I'm going to lose level. So I'm going to keep a close eye on it with this. Every couple strikes with the sledge, I'll be checking the level just to make sure. Let's get the sledge. I said I was going to move these, and then I didn't. Went a little too far. All right, I am dead on level. I feel really good about these spikes. I did not want to pour concrete. Obviously, these are inside my raised bed, so that was really not an option. So I had to come up with a different plan. Found these spikes on Amazon, caught them on clearance, of course. That's really the only way I shop. But I think this is going to work really, really well for these raised beds. So I'm going to get to driving the other side, and I'll get back to you in just a few minutes. All right, so I have both posts driven. They are square to each other. They are both level, and I also have them at the same height. So what I did there was I measured from the top of the raised bed to the top of the post. I have both of these sitting at 62 3/4 inches off the top of the raised bed. I'm really liking this. They feel very sturdy. Happy with this. Now I'm going to put the T's on them. One thing I didn't show you, and I really, really wish I would have, but unfortunately I didn't turn the camera on, but I ran into this. So when I was researching these spikes, everything I saw was to use a quote sacrificial piece of 4x4. And in the videos that I watched, these people were absolutely destroying these 4x4s. They were splitting and everything. So I really believed this was going to be the way to go. However, I can't get this thing out. I literally had to pull it up out of the ground. I still can't get it out. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I will find a way to get it out. Luckily, these came in a 4-pack, so I just went in and got another one. I think my trips to the garage now are up to 3. So, but my suggestion, don't do that. Just put your 4x4 in here. I didn't do enough damage to the top of this 4x4 to make any difference. There's no splitting. I am going to put a cap on top of these anyway. The important thing is they didn't split. So I was able to put the spike on the 4x4 above ground, tighten it up really well, and I feel like this is going to work just fine. So that is my new suggestion. If your ground is soft enough that you can drive this in without doing any damage, just use your 4x4 and don't use the sacrificial piece. All right, back at the saw here, I'm going to take this 2x4 and I'm going to cut it in 2-foot sections. These will be my cross pieces, or the T, if you will, for the post. This is how I'll run my wire, running across the bed. I set my stop at 2 feet. I am going to measure the first one just to make sure that I hit it right. So now I'll be able to see that and see if my stop is correct. I actually need to come in just a hair. See how that falls. And that's it. So now I'm going to get to cutting these cross pieces up, and we'll be ready to pre-drill these and go ahead and install the hardware that I can while they're on the table rather than on the 4x4. I'll obviously have to come back and paint these end pieces, but I've got to paint that bed anyway, so I'll do it all at once. All right, we made short work of that. Now we'll get back over to the table and we'll get some hardware installed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pre-drill my boards. I'm going to go ahead and put my eye bolts on. That's how I'm going to attach my connectors with. These will help me tighten up the wire so that I've got a good taut line. And then I'll talk about some of this other hardware in a minute. But first off, I'm going to measure these. I want to have them the same exact distance from the end of each side of these boards and the same on every board. And of course, centered up. So these are 2 foot long. I think I'm just going to come in, I'm going to come in 2.5 inches. I think that looks like it might be about right. Let me take a quick peek. No, I'm going to come in just 1 inch. I think that's going to be a little bit better instead of 2.5. I'm going to come in 1 inch from each side, obviously centered up. All right, so I got my center point. Try not to drill into my table. I'm going to pre-drill a hole. This bit has a countersink to it. I kind of like to countersink them. That way I can paint over and you can't see where I drilled the hole, or put the screw in, I should say. Helps if you got the drill going the right direction. Actually, for these, I didn't think about it, but obviously I don't need a countersink eye bolt. All right, so I've got these set. I will probably twist them a little bit to line them up, however I need to when I start to make the connection. But I'm going to continue on with the other 3 boards, doing this 6 more times. I have the rest of the eye bolt. I have the rest of the eye bolts here. I have, of course, I'm missing one, but another trip to the garage. All right, so now that I have all of these eye bolts in place, I'm going to measure on my 4x4s to get these exactly at the height that I'm looking for. So I think I'm going to aim for 2.5 feet off the bottom, and then probably just come down maybe 8 inches to a foot from the top. I am measuring this from the top of the raised bed too. Yeah. It looks like it's going to be right at 2 feet. Just a little shy. Right there. So that's my 2 foot mark. So I think I'm only going to come down 6 inches. So coming down 6 inches here. This will be my center line too, by the way. So I'll have a little less than 6 inches from the top. I'll be at 2 foot on the bottom. All right, so I found the center of my cross piece. I have the center of my 4x4. I also have marked where I want the top of the 4x4 to go. So I'm going to get these set in place. We'll first put in the center one, then I'll use my level to make sure it's all level. Right about there. Now, set my level on top. Ooh, too much, way too much. That looks like it right there. That's level. So let's go ahead and tighten these up. All right, still level. So let's do that on the bottom one. Same thing here. I have the center of my 4x4 or 2x4. I have the center of the 4x4, and I have a mark for the top of my 2x4. All right, check level. Pretty close right there. Got it. Ooh, that did not help. Let's do this one over here. There we go. Now we got it. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with the other post as well. All right, so I'm going to show y'all how I'm putting the crimps on to make the loops in the ends of these. So it came with the crimps, the little center pieces to hold the loop, and then obviously I've got the tensioner. So first I'm going to slide the wire through the crimp. Now I'm going to put on my tensioner. I'm going to run this through the other side of the crimp, giving yourself plenty of slack there. Then I'm going to slide in the loop piece. Once I've done that, I'm going to slide my tensioner over that, and then it's just a matter of squeezing that crimp up until you have it tight. And then that's it. Once you've done that, you can crimp it down. Now I'm using these small wire crimps. Highly recommend get a pair of bolt cutters for crimping this. Would be a lot better, and I'll come back and do that as well. But unfortunately, my bolt cutters are not with me today. So I'm crimping the best I can with these wire crimps, but I'll come back and get these better with a bolt cutter later. There you have it. So I'm going to need a tensioner on one end of all 4 of my wires, and make sure when you are ready to put these on that you obviously you loosen this crimp all the way out. That way you can set these up and tighten them down once you've got them all put together. So I showed y'all how to crimp these in place with the tensioners on the other end. I just repeated that process 7 more times. Only difference is on this end of the trellis wire, I put the carabiner. So same exact steps, only a carabiner rather than a tensioner. Again, make sure you put your tensioners on with them opened all the way up. Yeah, you could probably take it apart and readjust, but it is what it is. Now all I've got to do, clip the carabiner onto the wire and tighten the tensioner. And that's it. So the Blackberry trellis is complete other than some touch-up paint. I knew that was coming. I knew I was going to cut these off. I knew I was going to scrape these up in the process. But that is how I am building my Blackberry trellis. Of course, as these grow taller, I'll be able to put them on, strap them on to the trellis wire. But if you have any questions or comments, maybe you know a little better way to do this, let me know what you think in the comments. But until next time, thanks for watching.